Good morning from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant, and we welcome you to Kentucky Newsmakers. And our main guest today is U.S. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who is also Kentucky's longest-serving senator ever. McConnell, who was first elected in 1984, wields considerable power in Washington and is working to keep the Republicans in control of the Senate. He's doing that in a year when Donald Trump is at the head of the GOP ticket, which has proven to be unpredictable as far as what's going on so far. McConnell won a 15-point landslide re-election in 2014, and it was then, apparently, that he decided to write his autobiography. They say history belongs to those who write it. McConnell churned out his life story, which he entitled The Long Game. It tells of his challenges with polio in his early life, a decision to relentlessly pursue politics in early adulthood, and how he has been elected to the Senate 6 times from Kentucky. He also reveals early in the book that he only grants media interviews when it's to his advantage. So he is with us today. We'll find out what he gets out of this. Senator, thanks for coming. We appreciate it very much. And I do want to get to some of the issues of the day later, but I do want to start out with a book. And why did you decide to write an autobiography?
Well, when I became the majority leader, which was the goal I'd had for a very long time, it seemed like the time to do it. People are a lot more interested in the leader of the majority than they are the leader of the minority, because the majority leader gets to set the agenda in the Senate. And so it seemed like it was time, and I checked with some of the publishers, and there was interest by 4 or 5 of the best publishers, and the rest, as they say, is in the book.
Once you started writing, were you surprised yourself at how willing you were to lay threadbare some of your emotions, some of your insecurities early in life, some of the things that developed you into the person you became?
Well, I think if you're going to write a credible book, you need to you need to not whitewash your life. And I had a number of challenges. We all have them. You mentioned in the introduction the big early challenge I had as a little bitty kid, getting polio at age 2, and my mother's heroic effort to make sure I didn't have to wear a brace the rest of my life. It affected my left leg. Kind of an early lesson in tenacity. My dad was overseas fighting the Germans in World War II, and polio would hit you like the flu. And then when the flu went away, you had various degrees of problems. You could be dead, or you could be completely recovered, or some level of paralysis in between. It affected my left quadricep, the muscle between the knee and the thigh. We were fortunate to be about an hour's drive from Warm Springs, Georgia, where Franklin Roosevelt had set up a polio treatment center. They taught my mother how to do these physical therapy regimens, and here's what they told her: keep him off his feet. Can you imagine watching a 2-year-old, this went on for 2 years, watching a 2-year-old between the ages of 2 and 4 and keeping off his feet.
And you're watching other kids play?
Yeah.
Have a good time?
I mean, she was a drill sergeant, and but for her tenacity, I probably would have had a very different kind of childhood and maybe different aspirations. But an early lesson that if you really, really work at something, the chances are pretty good you may get there.
And so you did that, and you lay out how in baseball you became a pretty good baseball player. Few people probably know that who are out there. But then politics called early. You moved around. You moved first over to Georgia to...
Yeah, we went from Alabama to Georgia, and then up to Kentucky at 13. I'll tell you how baseball intersected with politics. I was beginning to feel a little full of myself, thinking I was pretty good. I was a pitcher. And we went in to play the City All-Stars. And I looked around, they were bigger than we were, they had better uniforms, a nicer field, and by the time I got in to pitch the second half of the game, I was not exactly calm. So I walked the first batter, the second batter, the third batter, the fourth batter, 1 run in. I said to myself, you know you can get the ball over. I did, and it went straight over the fence. So it became pretty clear to me after that humbling experience that maybe I needed to go in a different direction. And so it became, a different kind of competition, running for office.
You had this bully who picked on you, and you name him by name in the book. And your dad told you to go over and
that was another lesson about standing up to bullies. Yeah, I was out playing in the yard with Dickie McGrew, who lived across the street. He was a year older and a lot bigger than I was, and he was always pushing me around. And my dad, who's a pretty tough guy, who managed to survive some pretty harrowing experiences in World War II, had been watching all of this, and he found it pretty embarrassing. And so he called me over one day and he said, "Son, I want you to go over there and beat up Dickie McGrew." And I said, "Dad, he's bigger than I am, he's older than I am." And Dad said, "I'm bigger than he is and older than he is." So with little hope of success, I walked across the street, I beat up Dickie McGrew, and I bent his glasses, and we never had another problem. That was an important lesson, too, because standing up to bullies has been, a helpful lesson for me throughout my life.
You end up in Louisville, where your dad took a job, and you're at a high school. You don't know anybody. You hear a speech from an upperclassman, and he impressed you. And you said then and there you want to be like him, or at least you wanted to.
Well, he was the
to
president of the student body, and I thought to myself, even though I don't know anybody, that would be a really terrific thing to do. So,
and your mom, again, stepped in and said, "You can do
well,
it."
maybe you could do that someday.
Now, I found it very insightful. People have said through the years you're a masterful political strategist. Then and there, you identify some popular kids in high school. And
the cheerleaders and the athletes. And got them to endorse me.
And get their endorsement, quote, air quotes, right? And then you go publicize that.
Yeah.
Well, if they're for you, then you should be.
I ran a better campaign. I think if you run a better campaign, you got a good chance of winning.
And, it seems to me that then you go to college and you go to law school, but it's almost like you get your eye on the U.S. Senate pretty early in life.
Yeah, John Sherman Cooper, I was an intern in his office in 1964. It was the summer of the civil rights filibuster, which he participated in breaking. He was an inspirational figure, and I said to myself, gee, I hope someday I might be able to do this. And interestingly enough, 20 years after I was an intern in his office, I was sworn into the seat that he held. He was still alive. He was so happy to see one of his former interns succeed him, and he invited me to stay at his house, and it was just a thrilling experience.
You were, you said your family was pro-civil rights. You wanted the Act of 1964 and then the Voting Act in 1965. You were an intern for Congressman Gene Snyder of Louisville. You broke with him over that issue and supported his opponent in a primary. You have said later that may have been a mistake because you...
I shouldn't have done that because he gave me an opportunity. And even though I didn't have the same admiration for him I did for Senator Cooper, that was an early lesson in loyalty. If you can't support somebody that has done something good for you, at least ought to keep your mouth shut.
And then one of the most interesting revelations to me, 1964 presidential election. You voted for LBJ.
Yeah, worst vote I ever cast. But I was so mad at Goldwater for voting against the Civil Rights Bill. And even at my early age, I felt that would fracture the long-standing relationship my party, the Republican Party, had with African-American voters. And it did, and it still has. I mean, it kind of eliminated the alliance Republicans had long had going back to the Civil War with African-American voters. But LBJ was such a disaster in the second term, I felt badly about that vote, and I still do.
You eventually ran and was elected as the judge executive in Jefferson County and then re-elected, and then you get your eye on that 1984 Senate race. You weren't supposed to win. Democrats were in power. Wendell Ford, Julian Carroll, John Y. Brown. D. Huddleston, the incumbent, was entrenched. You give a lot of credit to the hound dog ad and your hard work in that campaign.
Well, Roger Ailes, who until recently was the head of Fox News and built Fox from nothing to dominate cable news, in those days did television commercials for candidates. And here was the situation. It was the same year I think you started here. I was 35 points down in July, and we had a strategy meeting over in Louisville at the courthouse, and I said, Roger, is the race over? And he said, well, I can never recall a race this far behind, this late, that won, but I don't think it's over, which showed the competitive spirit he had. And so he came up with this Bloodhound commercial, which is hard to describe to your viewers, but was quite humorous, and ended up, getting the attention of Kentucky voters, and gave me a shot. They began to pay attention to what I had to say, and managed to win, but not by much. It was about a vote a precinct.
In that campaign, you're flying around on a single-engine plane, and you describe a lady named Pat Datillo, who is a pilot.
Yeah.
And you go into Hazard, and she tells you to get out of there before dark because she couldn't see how to get out of there.
Yeah, she was a grandmother, and she had really thick glasses that looked like a couple of Coke bottles. Single-engine plane. I wouldn't do that again today. So we landed in Hazard. We were going over to Hyden in Leslie County. And she said, Judge, that was my title in those days. She said, Judge, you see the top of those mountains? She said, if I can't see them, we ain't taking off. We got back in the nick of time and just barely cleared the mountains before the sun fell.
Tough re-election battle in 1990. You win over Harvey Sloan, and somewhere along the way in those years, you meet your soulmate, Elaine Chao.
Yeah.
And you talk about her a lot in the book.
Well, I was single when I went to the Senate. I had been married before, had 3 young daughters, and single for 13 years. And I met Elaine through mutual friends of ours in Washington. Fascinating woman that Kentuckians now know, with her own public career, and a great coming to America story. She came here at age 8, not speaking a word of English, and ended up in the president's cabinet. That's the sort of thing that makes you love America. You
indicate in the book that you never came to like the Washington social life, but you do like to tailgate at U of L football games.
I do. I like football a lot, and I like the whole thing about it, Go out a few hours in advance, watch the game, and a few hours afterwards.
I want to show the cover of the book here that we'll do. It is called The Long Game, a memoir by U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell, and it is available out there now at the bookstores, and of course you could order it online. And we're going to come back on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers, talk about some issues going on now with U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell in just a moment. Welcome back now to WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers as we're visiting with U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell, the longest-serving senator from Kentucky ever. Senator, the presidential race is fascinating. The conventions are over as this program is airing on the weekend. Donald Trump is the Republican nominee. Hillary Clinton is the Democrat. You served with Clinton in the Senate. You support Trump. Both now say that they can't be trusted with national security briefings. Yeah. Trump called on Russia to hack into Clinton's emails. What do you make of this race?
Well, I run into people all the time, Bill, that say, I don't like either one of them. And if you look at the surveys, you'll see that most Americans don't like the choice. So how do you make a decision in a race like this? And here's what I tell people. If you're happy with where the country is now, you think America's doing just fine, and want 4 more years just like the last 8, then you ought to vote for Hillary Clinton, the candidate of the status quo. But if you want America to take a new path, this is really not a personality contest because apparently people are not fond of either one of them. The core issue is, are you satisfied or not? And I think in order to achieve a change in direction, you need different policies in the White House, and I'm convinced Donald Trump will be dramatically different from Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton.
Do you, when Trump campaigns, do you take him at his word that he is for some of the things that he says he is for, and could you support those things in the Senate? Says this wall between the U.S. and Mexico is a top priority. Have you given some thought as to how much money the Congress would allocate for something like that?
Well, there are parts of the border where a wall probably makes sense, other parts where it doesn't. Border security is important, and we haven't done a good job of securing the border. And to the extent that Donald Trump is more serious about securing the border than Hillary Clinton, and I think he is, I certainly agree with him.
Are the political parties in somewhat of an identity crisis right now on both sides? Democrats are openly courting Republican support at their convention this week. Trump says that the supporters of the self-described socialist Bernie Sanders should go for him. Who stands for what?
Well, I think people can pretty safely say the Republican Party is still America's right-of-center party, And the Democratic Party is not only left of center, but now far left of center, because Hillary Clinton has adopted most of Bernie Sanders' position. So there's a clear choice here philosophically. In terms of appealing to the voters, there's no question that Donald Trump is after people who are losing out in today's economy, doing particularly well with white working class Americans who've lost jobs to foreign competition. And to the extent that he's appealing to a group that frequently votes Democratic, that's different. I don't think the policies are all that different. Hillary Clinton is obviously trying to make everybody convinced that, that Trump doesn't have the temperament for the job. So we'll see who makes the best argument to the American people and who wins. But, you know, Bill, I keep coming back to it at the risk of repeating myself. Put all that aside, the core question before the American people is, do you really think things are just fine, as President Obama argued at the convention, or do you think we can do a lot better? Hillary Clinton is the candidate of things are just fine, give me 4 more years like the last 8. Donald Trump is a different direction.
The race for control of the Senate is underway in the middle of all of this as well. It determines whether you will be the majority leader next year, as you said. What do you say to those who say, well, Senator McConnell probably had to redo some calculations based on some developments in recent weeks? Marco Rubio, you get him back as a candidate in Florida, and the Democrats entice Evan Bayh in Indiana to get back into the race, or into this race, and he has $10 million left over from his 2010 race.
Well, Rubio was a good move for us, and Bayh was a good move for them. But Evan Bayh is not going to have a cakewalk to re-election. Indiana is a state that we think has become increasingly red. We have a great candidate in Congressman Todd Young, but putting aside the presidential impact on that, this was going to be a challenging cycle for my side anyway. We had 24 members up, they only had 10. And a significant number of our 24 members up are in competitive states: New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Illinois, Florida, and 2 open seats in Nevada and Indiana. So no matter what happens at the top of the ticket, this was going to be a challenging cycle for us. Next cycle, only 8 Republicans are up and 25 Democrats. So the shoe will be on the other foot immediately after this election.
When voters see something like the Zika concerns not be addressed by Congress because it gets tied up in other issues, isn't it easy to see how people consider Capitol Hill to be dysfunctional?
Well, voters have a right to be angry about the Zika bill not passing. Democrats in the Senate have enough members to filibuster and thereby defeat, and they did defeat, not only the Zika funding bill, which I thought was truly outrageous, but it was also attached to a military construction and veterans affairs bill. So they not only stopped the Zika funding, they stopped the military construction and veterans bill as well. And I'm sure they're having a great time trying to explain that to their voters here over the next 7 weeks.
How do these issues all get intertwined? I mean,
well, you know,
why not just have a clean Zika bill and a clean bill on, you know, another issue? I mean,
no bills are completely clean. They're always a combination of interests because neither side is irrelevant. This is divided government. Both Democrats and Republicans have sway, have power to influence things. And the Democrats, because of some really minor objections to some of their core supporters, like the Planned Parenthood group, decided to kill a bill that had a huge impact on the Zika crisis and on veterans affairs.
Do you intend to hold firm on not considering President Obama's nominee to the U.S. Supreme Court?
Yeah, the Supreme Court is going to be filled by the next president. I made that very clear. As soon as Justice Scalia passed away, nothing has changed. The next president will pick the Supreme Court member. U
of L has accepted the resignation of President James Ramsey. He had been there for 14 years. He gets a severance of about $700,000 that was worked out. You've been complimentary of his leadership at U of L.
Well, certainly of the progress the university has made the last 14 years. It's dramatically better than it was when he was there, but there were some questionable actions during that period, and it's really up to the Board of Trustees to decide what the future of the university is. But Jim did a good job.
Do we, should we read anything into the timing of the book, The Long Game? Does The Long Game near an end?
That's not what I have in mind, no.
Do you intend to run for re-election in 2020?
There's a very good chance of that, yes. Very good chance of that.
Are you raising money at this time, or have you...
Yeah, well,
for that purpose?
Yeah, well, I'm raising money for multiple purposes to try to help my colleagues, but I'm at the top of my game. I think I've been effective in serving our people, and there's a great likelihood I'll run again.
All right. We want to thank you for coming by. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to show the book one more time if we have that available. The Long Game by U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell, which is available out there. And, of course, we've discussed some issues as well. Interesting weeks ahead in the election cycle. Thanks for coming by. We appreciate it. And we'll be back on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers in just a moment.